Life Unlimited.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
I'm Josh Robin. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Wildfires continue to wreak havoc in parts of Southern California. Rescue crews say that the death toll stands at least 24 people killed. Dozens of people, though, are missing. Firefighters say that strong winds are hampering responses as they are scrambling to put out these flames. State leaders say that thousands of people are under evacuation orders. Officials now say that the wildfires are the costliest and the most destructive in state history. California Governor Gavin Newsom signing an executive order suspending some building requirements for victims. He's also allocating resources to expedite insurance inspections. U.S. and Arab state mediators are said to be making significant progress toward a hostage release and ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. A deal has not yet been reached. Officials say that the coming hours are critical to putting a stop to the more than 15 months of fighting. Over the past year, U.S. officials have said that a deal was close, only to have the talks stall. And in Washington, D.C., confirmation hearings in the U.S. Senate for President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet members are set to begin tomorrow. The hearings will feature picks like former Fox News host Pete Hegseth, Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, and former Georgia Representative Douglas Collins, Trump's pick for Secretary of Veterans Affairs. And that is your Spectrum News in 90.
Hello, everyone. Meteorologist Scott Dean with your Weather on the One's forecast for this Monday, as much of the nation is going to be quiet. Some exceptions will be Florida, with the system moving through with some showers and also a few snow showers up in the northern Rockies. Otherwise, the other big story will be the cold air plunging southward once again, with Arctic cold across the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes, with unfortunately more dry conditions across Southern California.
Good day, I'm Josh Robin. Thousands of firefighters in California are rushing this afternoon, aiming to knock down as much of the 3 fires burning in Los Angeles County ahead of a new wind threat in the coming hours. Red flag warnings have been posted for much of the region. At least 24 people are dead from those fires, dozens still missing. Tens of thousands of people face evacuation orders, though crews are said to be making some progress against the fires. The Palisades fire has burned more than 23,000 acres, with thousands of firefighters making the effort to contain it.
We have over 5,100 personnel, including 44 helicopters and 540 engines. The fire continues to hold along Mandeville Canyon, and we are grateful for our first responders and all those on the front lines fighting in this area. We know it is critical, and you are doing a great job.
Reporter Michael Yoshida is in Pacific Palisades, California for us today. Michael, what's the latest where you are?
Hey there, Josh. At this point, the main concern, the return of potential dangerous fire weather, strong winds, and how that could impact those slow efforts to try and contain these major wildfires already in the LA area. The amount of area burned, it's bigger than the city of Paris, just to try and put that in perspective for you. Here in Pacific Palisades, one of the harder hit communities, you can see this neighborhood unrecognizable at this point. All of this debris, the only way to tell where homes start and end is really by the brick chimneys that are left standing. All of this devastation as crews are scrambling to try and contain the remaining wildfires. Firefighters in California racing against the clock to contain blazes ahead of the return of dangerous winds.
Every one of our fires that's currently active, the containment lines that are not fully contained yet are still a challenge, and it's possible that wind could blow an ember over.
For nearly a week, conditions have made it difficult for crews to get a handle on the largest fires, the Eaton and Palisades. The deadly blazes around Los Angeles have caused devastating damage. More than 37,000 acres have burned, with fire officials saying at least 10,000 structures have been destroyed.
Lots of tears, anger. We're going through the stages of grief. There's no doubt about it.
Neighborhoods from Pacific Palisades to Altadena, unrecognizable.
What I miss the most are all the photographs of all of my children's lives and my trips and things like that, and that's gone.
Al Hugo, an Altadena-based firefighter, sharing these before and after photos of his family's home.
It was kind of surreal. I mean, it's something that really hits home. You do this for a living, but you invest your life to try to protect life and property. But when it's your own, it's just a different feeling.
And California Governor Gavin Newsom says the hope is to try and be able to assess all of the damaged buildings within the next 14 or so days. But the actual cleanup process, removing this debris, all this toxic material, that could take 6 to 9 months. Now, this weekend, we did see those search and rescue crews start to slowly make their way through neighborhoods like this one. All of that work happening as, again, the most pressing issue at this point is trying to get those containment numbers, those containment lines up around these fires, and hopefully soon get them put out. Josh?
Okay, our Michael Yoshida in Pacific Palisades this afternoon. Michael, thank you so much. And meteorologist Scott Dean joins me now. Scott, how long will these red flag warnings last?
Well, unfortunately, Josh, it looks like they're going to last at least through Wednesday, where we have critical fire conditions, where you're seeing the areas of red. Where you're seeing the areas of gold, that's a high wind warning, and that's where we could see winds gusting up to 70 miles an hour later tonight into the middle portions of tomorrow. So a very dangerous situation that's going to exacerbate the problems, and you can see the forecast in those areas, those winds gusting at least 40 miles an hour. In fact, this model is not showing the possible wind gusts that we're expecting over the next few days. But you get the general idea that this is going to be dangerous all the way through Tuesday, and it looks like things may relax a little bit by Wednesday later in the week. The problem is we desperately need rain, and unfortunately it does not look like it's in the cards. Upper level ridge will put a cap on the atmosphere and also shove the storm track well to the north. So it looks like the West Coast, including Southern California, is not going to catch a break from Mother Nature, unfortunately, Josh.
Okay, wish it were more encouraging. Scott Dean, thank you. There are several problems complicating the firefight and the relief effort. As Spectrum News anchor Jenna Enoch explains, concerns about hazardous materials, drones, scams, and looting are on the rise.
More issues are coming out related to the devastating wildfires in LA, giving officials more to worry about on top of containing the fires and keeping people safe.
As we have these tragedies, we also need to make sure that we're taking this as an opportunity to rebuild these communities in a way that's going to make them more resilient against these types of disasters.
Private drones have been flying in airspace as firefighters are trying to battle the blaze. A drone collided with a firefighting aircraft, putting the FAA on alert, warning drone pilots that if you fly, firefighters can't.
These drones are nothing to be played with. On top of that, they are violating federal law. There is a temporary flight restriction over all of these wildfires right now that's enforced by the FAA, and the FBI is tasked with enforcing that federal law.
The Attorney General warning of looters. Sheriff deputies arrested this man dressed as a fire rescuer, but they say in reality he was trying to prey on the belongings of residents who have lost everything.
It's absolutely devastating what people have suffered here. The damage, the destruction, the devastation, and it's completely completely disgusting, despicable, and sick to take advantage of people in this moment when they need support.
Residents also need to look out for price gouging as firefighters continue to fight the fires. They're taking extra precaution when encountering lithium-powered vehicles like Teslas that tend to burn hot and burn even after being extinguished.
But we were just with the inspectors. They say it's a little different world now today with batteries, not just car batteries, but battery packs, people with solar, those Tesla wall batteries and the like. So the hazmat side of this is made a little bit more complicated, which is fine. We'll work through that.
Jenna Enoch, Spectrum News.
Pete Hegseth returns to Capitol Hill for confirmation hearings as Donald Trump's pick to lead the Pentagon. A preview of the likely long road ahead for the nominee. That's after this quick break.
Here's the deal. Following the election, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Dinner time, off the internet. Devices in the basket, all of them.
Smartwatch. Connect as many devices as you want, and then some. With Spectrum, you get the fastest internet speeds and advanced Wi-Fi that can power all the devices in your home.
Okay. I have to take this.
Get fast and reliable connections. Get Spectrum.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Hello, everyone. Good to have you along. Meteorologist Scott Dean with your Weather on the Ones forecast. And of course, we're continuing to watch the conditions going on in Southern California. And unfortunately, it looks like the winds are going to increase again later tonight into Tuesday. So that's going to cause additional problems with the very dry conditions out there and the ongoing wildfires. You could really use the rain out the west. Unfortunately, it's not in the cards. The rain showers are going to be in the southeast, especially Florida. And it looks like more cold air, Arctic air, is going to be plunging southward over the next couple of days. Satellite radar composite showing most of the nation very quiet. We have some showers going on with that system down in Georgia into Florida, and also some snow showers over the northeast. And as we look at our Futurecast model, you can see that one system pushing out offshore of the peninsula of Florida, and also looking at a little system, a little Alberta Clipper, bringing some snow to the upper Midwest around St. Louis. You could see some of that. Unfortunately, for the West Coast, it's going to stay dry, especially in Southern California, as we'll see some showers possibly developing over the Texas Gulf Coast into Louisiana as we head into Wednesday evening. Otherwise, we're looking at more snow showers going on in the lake effect snowbelt areas, where some areas along the lakes could pick up a good helping of snowfall. As you can see, the legend here indicates around Syracuse could pick up as much as ½ a foot of snow or more in localized areas, and also looking at some snow possibly in the Appalachian Mountains. The other big story is the cold air, like I was saying, and you can see these high temperatures very cold for Tuesday. They'll start to moderate as that cold air mass pushes eastward along the East Coast. So you can see temperatures are going to be right around freezing in New York over the next 3 days. Cold conditions over towards Raleigh, down towards Atlanta, and even cool in Dallas as temperatures will stay in the 50s. Along the West Coast, temperatures not too bad. Of course, really could use some rain in Southern California.
If you're just joining us, here's a look at what you need to know. Rescue crews say that the death toll in Southern California stands now at least 24, and that number could rise. There have been dozens of people reported missing. Firefighters say that the strong winds are causing issues as they are scrambling to put out these flames. California leaders say that the wildfires in and around Los Angeles are the costliest and most destructive in state history. Governor Gavin Newsom signing an executive order suspending some building requirements for victims. He is also allocating resources to expedite insurance inspections. Turning to Washington, D.C., U.S. Senate confirmation hearings for President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet members are set to begin tomorrow. The hearings will feature picks like former Fox News host Pete Hegseth, that's Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, and also former Georgia Representative Douglas Collins, Trump's pick for Secretary of Veterans Affairs. And that is what you need to know. Mediators from the United States and from Middle Eastern countries are said to be making significant progress in talks to end the war in the Gaza Strip and release the scores of hostages held by Hamas. But a deal still has not yet been reached. Officials reported the new progress overnight and claimed that the next few days or even hours will be critical for ending the 15 months of fighting. Now, in those months, mediators have said much the same thing, only for a deal set to be close actually breaking down. Israeli and Hamas negotiators are working through the details for their leaders for final approval.
Israel wants a hostage deal. Israel is working with our American friends in order to achieve a hostage deal, and soon we will know whether the other side wants the same thing.
Both sides are aiming for an agreement ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration, which is next Monday. It's unclear how many of the scores of Israelis captured by Hamas on October 7, 2023 are still alive. Law enforcement agencies in Washington, D.C. are preparing for Donald Trump's inauguration next Monday. Barricades, fencing, and temporary structures are all going up outside the U.S. Capitol in Washington today. The FBI is the lead law enforcement agency and reports that no credible threats have been made against the president-elect or the inauguration. The Secret Service, however, says it is ready for anything.
The Secret Service will bring agents and other specialists from field offices across the country to provide a full slate of visible and invisible security measures.
The entirety of Washington, D.C.'s Metro Police Force has been activated for the event alongside nearly 8,000 National Guard members. This week, some of President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet nominees head to the Senate for confirmation hearings. Spectrum reporter Angie Gonzalez has a look at which of Trump's picks are going to be sitting in the hot seat and which nominees are still without a firm hearing date.
And built it. Plus, among Trump's first cabinet nominees slated for Senate confirmation hearings are former North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum for Interior and Pete Hegseth for Defense. Hegseth's hearing Tuesday will be one to watch as his confirmation hinges on just a handful of Senate votes.
I hope that senators, Republican and Democrat alone, recognize that this is one of the most important positions related to national security.
Since his nomination, the former Fox News host has faced allegations of sexual and financial misconduct from his past. Hegseth has denied those claims, and Trump has continued to back him. Wednesday, Pam Bondi and Senator Marco Rubio will have their own hearings. Rubio for Secretary of State and Bondi for Attorney General. Bondi was Florida's first female Attorney General and served in that role from 2011 to 2019.
I think she'll be just terrific. I know her very well. We served together as Attorneys General.
While much less controversial controversial than Trump's initial selection of former Congressman Matt Gaetz, Bondi does have her critics. Democratic Senator Dick Durbin expressed his concerns last week that Bondi's previous work as a lobbyist for foreign governments might pose a conflict of interest.
Do you support polio vaccine?
Hearings for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, and Kash Patel have yet to be scheduled. For Gabbard, Trump's pick to be the next director of national intelligence, one Senate Republican blames a paperwork issue as delaying her hearing, possibly till next week. It's unclear when hearings for RFK Jr. and Patel might be added. RFK Jr. has been tapped to lead the Department of Health and Human Services and Patel to head up the FBI. In Washington, Angie Gonzalez, Spectrum News.
President Joe Biden is putting new restrictions on the export of U.S.-developed computer chips that power AI systems. The Biden administration says it's an effort to keep the advanced technology out of the hands of U.S. adversaries. The restriction creates 3 tiers for exports of advanced AI chips and technology. The rules take effect now while a 120-day comment period is underway. Wisconsin man is lending a helping hand to those in need. Just ahead, we introduce you to today's everyday hero.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
When you know you can go anywhere because you have a connection that's built for everywhere. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/act now.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Hello, everyone. Meteorologist Scott Dean with your Weather on the Ones forecast. As the dangerous fire conditions continue in Southern California, we're expecting those winds to really increase as we head later on into the next 24 hours or so. The Arctic plunge continues with the latest cold air pushing southward into the eastern portions of the nation and also down in the deep south. And in the deep south, we do have some showers that are going to be affecting Florida. That'll be moving off the coast. But we take you into Southern California, where you're seeing the areas of red. That's where we have red flag warnings for critical fire danger and also high wind warnings where you're seeing the shades of gold here. That's where the winds could gust as high as 70 miles an hour later tonight into Tuesday. Here's the system that we're watching in the southeast with some showers. That continues to move across southern Georgia and will push across the Florida peninsula as the showers have pushed off the Carolina coast. Also looking at some light snow showers in New England. Those will continue continue to push eastward as we're going to look at a mainly quiet weather pattern across the U.S. with cold Arctic high pressure building southward, keeping the temperatures well below average in the east and also keeping the lake effect snow machine going over the next couple of days. We are going to be watching another system along the Texas, Louisiana coast that could bring some showers. Overall,
hello, I'm Josh Robin. You're watching a special report here on Spectrum News. It's now 2:23 in the nation's capital. President Joe Biden is at the State Department to give the final foreign policy address as president. Let's listen in.
Thank you, please, thank you. It's good to be back at the State Department. Tony, if I may start by saying this, you're one of the finest men I've ever known in any undertaking, for one important reason. You're not only brilliant, you have incredible character. You have character. You have more integrity than almost anybody I know. Thank you for always sticking with me. Appreciate it. Folks, I'm grateful for his counsel and his friendship as well, but I also want to thank the members of my cabinet and the members of the Congress who are here today, and to all our diplomats and development experts, service members, and intelligence professionals. Many of the achievements we're going to discuss today were the result of your hard work, and that's not hyperbole, it's true. Thank you for your extraordinary service. I come here to the State Department to report on to the American people on the progress we've made in the last 4 years in our foreign policy and our presidency. I've said many times, we're at an inflection point. The post-Cold War period is over. A new era has begun. In these 4 years, we faced crises that we've been tested. We've come through those tests stronger, in my view, than we entered those tests. This is a fierce competition underway. The future of the global economy, technology, human values, and so much else. Right now, in my view, thanks to our administration, the United States is winning the worldwide competition. Compared to 4 years ago, America is stronger. Our alliances are stronger. Our adversaries and competitors are weaker. We have not gone to war to make these things happen. During my presidency, I've increased America's power at every dimension. We've increased our diplomatic power, creating more allies than the United States has ever had in the history of our nation. We've increased our military power, making the most significant investments in the defense industrial base in decades. We've increased the technology power, taking the lead in artificial intelligence and other technologies of the future. And we've increased the economic power, building the most dynamic economy in the world from the bottom up and the middle out, not the top down. In short, Kamala and I took office, our nation had become stronger at home, are stronger in the world. And now, America is more capable and, I would argue, better prepared than we've been in a long, long time. While our competitors and adversaries are facing stiff headwinds, we have the wind at our back because of all of you. This is what we're heading into. And over the next administration, that's what we're handing it to. Today, I want to lay out what we've done, the opportunities we've created for America, and those opportunities going forward. Today, I can report to the American people, our sources of national power are far stronger than we were when we took office. Our economy is booming, although there's more work to do. Our technologies, from artificial intelligence to biotech, quantum, and to advanced semiconductors, they're the envy of the world. And we have made the most significant investments in America and the American workers since the New Deal. To rebuild our roads and bridges, our ports and airports, clean water systems, affordable high-speed internet, and so much more. To build American manufacturing, to make advanced semiconductors, which we invented here at home. We made the largest investment in climate and clean energy ever anywhere on Earth in the history of the world, spurring nearly $500 billion in private sector investment. We've also significantly strengthened the defense industrial base, investing almost $1.3 trillion in procurement and research and development. In real dollars, that's more than America did in any four-year period during the Cold War. This is going to ensure that we're fully equipped to fight and win wars, which is also the best way to deter wars in the first place. Today, I can report to the American people our alliances are stronger than they've been in decades. NATO is more capable than it's ever been, and many more of our allies are paying their fair share. Before I took office, 9 NATO allies were spending 2% of their GDP on defense. Now 23 are spending 2%. And look at the Indo-Pacific. We've made partnerships stronger and created new partnerships to challenge China's aggressive behavior and to rebalance power in the region. We did it, what few thought was possible, to build the first ever trilateral partnership between the United States, Japan, and South Korea. Then another among the United States, Japan, and the Philippines, drawing closer our Pacific allies to defend our shared security and prosperity. We brokered a defense pact known as AUKUS among the United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific allies as only America is able to do. And we've taken the Quad to the next level. The United States, Japan, Australia, and India. When we had that first meeting, I was dumbfounded when they all called and said, "Can we do this at your house?" I think I'm kidding. My wife said, "No problem." It was during the UN meeting, and we thought we were going to do it in New York, but they wanted to do it in Delaware. I said, "Why?" I said, "We can know, then people will know we're really friends." Our democracy, with vibrant economies, working closely, security, supply chains, technology, and so much more. In the Red Sea, we brought together more than 20 countries to protect civilian ships from attack by the Houthis, defending freedom of navigation, one of the world's busiest waterways. And we have strengthened partnerships all across the Americas, defending democracy, targeting corruption, addressing migration, increasing prosperity, and protecting Amazon rainforest, which captures billions of tons of carbon from the atmosphere every year. Overall, we've reinvigorated people's faith in the United States as a true partner. Today, I can report to the American people, our adversaries are weaker than were when we came into this job 4 years ago. Just consider Russia. When Putin invaded Ukraine, he thought he'd conquer Kyiv in a matter of days. But the truth is, since that war began, I'm the only one that stood in the center of Kyiv, not him. Putin never has. Think about it. It was a long train ride, but I'm the only commander-in-chief to visit a war zone not controlled by U.S. forces. We helped Ukrainians stop Putin. And now, nearly three years later, Putin has failed to achieve any of his strategic objectives. He has failed thus far to subjugate Ukraine, failed to break the unity of NATO, and failed to make large territorial gains. There's more to do. We can't walk away. We rallied 50 nations to stand with Ukraine, not just in Europe, but for the first time in Asia as well. Because those countries in Asia know what happens in Ukraine matters to them as well. We delivered air interceptors, massive numbers of munitions, enacted relentless, unprecedented sanctions to keep Ukraine in the fight. And now Russia is struggling to replace what they are losing on the battlefield and in terms of military equipment and fighters. And the ruble is under enormous pressure. As I saw it, when Putin launched his invasion, I had two jobs. One, to rally the world to defend Ukraine, and the other is to avoid war between two nuclear powers. We did both those things. And today, Ukraine is still a free, independent country with the potential for a bright future. And we laid the foundation for the next administration so they can protect the bright future of the Ukrainian people. And now, look at Iran. Did you ever think we'd be where we are with Iran at this moment? After those despicable attacks by Hamas on October the 7th, Iran directly attacked Israel twice with hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones. And twice they failed because the United States organized a coalition of countries to stop them and ordered U.S. aircraft to come to the defense of Israel. Now, Iran's air defenses are in shambles. Their main proxy, Hezbollah, is badly wounded. And as we tested Iran's willingness to revive the nuclear deal, we kept the pressure with sanctions. Now Iran's economy is in desperate straits. All told, Iran is weaker than it's been in decades. And if you want more evidence that we've seriously weakened Iran and Russia, just take a look at Syria. President Assad was both countries' closest ally in the Middle East. Neither could keep him in power. Quite frankly, neither really tried very hard. Now, I cannot claim credit for every factor that led to Iran and Russia growing weaker in the past 4 years. They did plenty of damage all by themselves. But Israel did plenty of damage to Iran and its proxies. But there's no question, our actions contributed significantly. And now major authoritarian states are aligning more closely with one another. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea. But that's more out of weakness than out of strength. So as the new administration begins, the United States is in a fundamentally stronger position with respect to these countries than we were 4 years ago. Today, I can report to the American people we're in a better strategic position in the long-term competition with China than we were when I took office. You all recall, many experts believe were predicting it was inevitable that China's economy would surpass ours. According to many predictions, that would happen by the year 2030 or shortly thereafter. But we in this room said no. If we make the investments in ourselves, we protect our workers and technologies, that will not happen. Now, according to the latest predictions, on China's current course, they will never surpass us, period. I met one-on-one with President Xi in consequential summits. He and I have always been direct and straightforward with each other. I made it clear we expect China and everyone to abide by the international rules. And so we stood up against unfair trade practices, taking action when China dumped subsidized goods, incredibly subsidized, on our markets to undercut our workers. We imposed target tariffs in critical sectors like cars, steel, and semiconductors, rather than across-the-board tariffs. We imposed historic export controls on investments, restrictions, to ensure that China cannot use the most advanced technology and sensitive data against us. And critically, we enlisted our allies and partners to join us, building more convergence among our allies on a shared approach to China than ever existed, and showing that it's more effective to deal with China alongside of partners rather than going it alone. But even while we compete vigorously, we've managed our relationship with China responsibly, so it's never tipped over into conflict. We've created lines of communication between President Xi and myself, and between the leaders of our militaries, to avoid misunderstanding. We found ways to work with each other, to address climate change, to reduce the flow of fentanyl in the United States, which, by the way, overdose deaths are coming down across our nation. And in my administration, we've seized more fentanyl at our border in 2 years than the previous 5 years combined. Today, I can also report to the American people, we're the first president in decades who's not leaving a war in Afghanistan to his successor. But we've got bin Laden during the Obama-Biden administration. The primary objective of war had been accomplished. And I believe that going forward, the primary threat of al-Qaeda would no longer be emanating from Afghanistan, but from elsewhere. And so we not need to station a sizable number of American forces in Afghanistan. So when I took office, I had a choice. Ultimately, I saw no reason to keep thousands of servicemen in Afghanistan. I think I have my schedule with me, and I keep on my, I don't have, but I keep on the back of my card the actual number of dead and wounded that occurred in our longest war to remind myself. To keep spending hundreds of millions of dollars a day, we're no longer doing that. In my view, it was time to end the war and bring our troops home, and we did. I commend the courage of all those who served in Afghanistan. We grieve all 2,461 Americans who made the ultimate sacrifice in the longest war in American history. And I grieve those brave service members whose lives were lost during the withdrawal. We also thank those inside and outside of government who have done so much to help thousands of Afghan families resettle in the United States. Remember, critics said if we ended the war, it would damage our alliances and create threats to our homeland from foreign directed terrorism out of a safe haven in Afghanistan. Neither has occurred. Neither has occurred. And our alliance has stayed strong. We've used our over-the-horizon capabilities to strike in Afghanistan and elsewhere when we had to. For instance, eliminating Zawahiri, the leader of al-Qaeda, who helped orchestrate the September 11th attacks. And we did it without putting more American boots on the ground. And by ending the war, we've been able to focus our energy and resources on more urgent challenges. There is nothing, and I can tell you from my conversations with both Xi and Putin, nothing our adversaries and competitors like Russia and China would have liked more than seeing us to continue to be tied down in Afghanistan for another decade. For all those reasons, ending the war was the right thing to do, and I believe history will reflect that. And from the moment I entered office, I also worked to free as many Americans as possible being held hostage or wrongfully detained overseas. We brought home more than 75 Americans by last count. In some cases, it took months, even years of effort, like the prisoner swap with Russia over the past summer. A feat of diplomacy involving many of you and involving multiple countries who joined complex negotiations at our request. Another example of the power of our alliances. We did not have these relationships, those women and women would likely still be in prison. And finally, I can report to the American people that we restored our leadership in a range of other generational priorities. When I took office, we were no longer part of the International Climate Agreement. We announced on day one that we would join the Paris Accord, rejoin. And we've led by example. We've conserved hundreds of millions of acres of land and water, more than any president in American history, making investments in clean energy and convincing other nations to join us. Thanks to our efforts, the world has reached the goal of investing $100 billion every year in public and private funds to reduce greenhouse emissions, to drive down the cost of clean energy, to help developing nations adapt to climate change. Our administration has launched a transformative initiative to build high-impact infrastructure in developing nations. It's called PGI. You all know that better than anyone. This is our alternative to what China offers with its massive projects across Africa and beyond. But their approach features no workers' rights, no environmental protections, unmanageable debt, shoddy construction, all in exchange for military access to ports and other exploitative purposes. By contrast, we've leveraged $600 billion and unleashed the private sector to build an infrastructure in order to grow economies and combat climate change. As an example, I was recently in Angola to see a major project being built with the help of American public funding, which brought in even more private investment. We're building the first ever transcontinental railroad across Africa. It will significantly improve the economies of the region, will help farmers transport crops in new global markets, will transport critical minerals that are needed for electric vehicles and semiconductors. China used to control the supply chains and these materials, but not for long. Now, make no mistake, there are serious challenges the United States must continue to deal with. In Ukraine, in the Middle East, in the Indo-Pacific, must keep the pressure on the Houthis, who are attacking ships in the Red Sea, launching missiles at Israel, and firing at American forces. Must deter North Korea as they rattle their saber and draw closer to Russia. And new challenges will certainly emerge in the months and years ahead. But even so, it's clear my administration is leaving the next administration with a very strong hand to play. And we're leaving them and America with more friends and stronger alliances, whose adversaries are weaker and under pressure. And America that once again is leading, uniting countries, setting the agenda, bringing others together behind our plans and visions. In America, which is no longer at war, which has made historic investments in American workers, American energies, American factories, generating the strongest economy in the world, which is now in a much better position to win the future against any competitor. These wins are not partisan. They're American. They benefit all Americans and reflect America's endless capacity for leadership and reinvention. Look, folks, the United States should take full advantage of our diplomatic and geopolitical opportunities we've created to keep bringing countries together to deal with challenges posed by China, to make sure Putin's war ends in a just and lasting peace for Ukraine, and to capitalize on a new moment for a more stable, integrated Middle East. To do that, the next administration must make sure the fall of Assad does not lead to the resurgence of ISIS in Syria and across the region. It must carry forward the commitment that America will never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. And on the war between Israel and Hamas, we're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned in many years of public service to never, ever give up. So I spoke to Prime Minister of Israel yesterday. I spoke to Amir of Qatar today. I look forward to speaking with President Sisi soon. We're pressing hard to close this. The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who've suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started. They've been through hell. So many innocent people have been killed. So many communities have been destroyed. The Palestinian people deserve peace and the right to determine their own futures. Israel deserves peace and real security, and the hostages and their families deserve to be reunited. And so we're working urgently to close this deal. And as we deal with immediate challenges, in my view, we have to look to the future. I urge the next administration to carry forward two issues that have been central to my presidency and which shape the future, in my view. On artificial intelligence, we are in the lead, and we must stay in the lead. We must not offshore artificial intelligence, as he once did with computer chips and other critical technologies. AI has the power to reshape economies, governments, national security, entire societies. And it must be the United States and our closest allies that lead the way to ensure people's rights are respected, their safety is protected, and their data is secure. And likewise, the clean energy transition will race ahead in years to come. I know some in the incoming administration are skeptical about the need for clean energy. They don't even believe climate change is real. I think they come from a different century. They're wrong. They are dead wrong. It's the single greatest existential threat to humanity. And the clean energy transition is already happening. China is trying to dominate the clean energy, manufacturing, critical materials, supply chains. They want to capture the market of the future and create new dependencies. The United States must win that contest, and we will shape the global economy and the planet for decades to come. Let me close with this. Like many of you, I've dedicated a significant portion of my career to our nation's foreign policy. As chair of the Foreign Relations Committee as a senator, vice president for 8 years, and now president of the United States, I put together one of the most competent foreign policy teams, I would argue, in American history, sitting in this room and before my eyes. Throughout my career, the world has undergone tremendous change. But certain things have always held true. At our best, America leads not only by the example of our power, but the power of our example. In the past 4 years, we've used that power, not to go it alone, but instead to bring countries together, to increase shared security and prosperity, to stand up to aggression, and to solve problems through diplomacy wherever possible, and to relentlessly defend democracy, civil rights, and human rights, because that's who we are. You heard me say it many times before. We're the only country on earth founded on idea. Every other country is founded on geography, religion, ethnicity, or some other unifying factor. But America was built on an idea, literally, not figuratively. That idea was all women and men are created equal. The idea that has inspired the world for 250 years and counting. We're always reaching to do better, always looking to the future, not our best, always seeking progress for our people and for people everywhere. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. Today, I'm optimistic about our future, as optimistic as I've ever been. We just have to remember who in the hell we are. You've heard me say it many times. We're the United States of America, for God's sake. There is nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together and commit to it. Nothing. So thank you all for all you've done. I hope many of you are going to be staying in the next administration to keep this moving. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Well, you just heard President Joe Biden defend his foreign policy record, saying that he's leaving the incoming Trump administration a, quote, very strong hand to play. Biden stressing that alliances and diplomacy have restored international prestige for the United States, stretching from the South Pacific to the Middle East to the Americas. Biden, a Democrat, also insisting that U.S. adversaries are weakened, and he listed China, Russia, and Iran. This was the final foreign policy address of Biden Biden's term, and it comes amid continued wars and significant challenges, including in the Middle East and in Ukraine. Joining me now, Spectrum News political anchor Alex Cohen and Washington reporter Daniel Grimes. He's live at the White House. Alex, we'll start with you. Thank you both for being here. So Biden really ended the nation's longest war after 20 years of fighting in Afghanistan, but that pullout was highly criticized for how it ended, with 13 American soldiers killed, the U.S.-backed government collapsing, the Taliban back in power. What did you hear him say about Afghanistan in this address?
Well, Josh, I would like to frame it in terms of his tone. And I think if there were one adjective I would use to describe it, it fell on my ears as a very defiant tone. It reminds me of Biden's record on inflation and the economy, right? There's different metrics where you can look at it and see very different things. The president there insisting over and over again, as you mentioned, that he has left us and our position in the world in a better place than he found it. But probably knowing full well that there are so many people, both in this country and around the world, who simply don't see it that way. One, because of the, as you mentioned, what many call the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, in which lives were shed and so much damage was done. And we're still recovering from that. I'd like to point out, Josh, a tale of two surveys. I'm looking now, there's a new Gallup poll released just today that shows that our standing in Europe has improved significantly under Mr. Biden. Of 30 NATO allies surveyed, approval of U.S. leadership rose in all but 4 since 2020. Another Gallup poll showing that Biden's approval ratings are very precipitous within this own country, as low as when Donald Trump and Jimmy Carter left office. Josh, it's a tale of two perspectives.
It certainly is. Daniel, let's turn to you. What's at the top of the list of the incoming Trump administration? I'm curious in particular to see if you feel your analysis that Greenland and potentially seizing or getting somehow Denmark to turn over Greenland to the United States is at the top of the list, or is that just something more that this incoming president is talking about?
Yeah, I mean, when reference to Greenland, I think that is just kind of Trump bloviating. I'm not sure that he's going to actually do anything there. But I actually want to refer back to Biden's comments, in particular, just talking about the ceasefire agreement that he laid out months ago between Israel and Hamas, him saying that we're on the brink of a deal. I got a chance to hear Jake Sullivan at the White House press conference, and he said the same thing, that we are really close to a deal. And President-elect Donald Trump has stressed for months that there will be, quote, hell to pay if the hostages are not released by the time of his inauguration. Of course, the clock is ticking. He's going to be inaugurated in just a couple of days. And so we're really seeing that push. The Biden administration officials saying, and the president alluding to the fact that we could see those hostages, the remaining hostages that are still alive, released any day now, and a potential ceasefire. So I thought that was really huge, Josh.
Yeah, Alex, I wanted to turn to you about NATO. It seemed to me, and I wanted to get your sense as to when Biden talked about how NATO members have started boosting their defense budgets, that seemed to me to be trying to pre-butt the incoming president, who's talked about, the United States being essentially a sucker for defending countries that aren't willing to defend themselves. What was your read on it, Alex?
Yes, Biden can tout the fact that under his leadership, 2 new countries, Finland and Sweden, have been added to the organization. But these world leaders are very tuned in. They know what the president-elect has said time and time again. And I think they very well understand that we are perhaps heading towards a much more isolationist future. I think towards the end, we heard the president talk a fair amount about civil rights and human rights and stressing the importance of those, again, because that may or may not be a top priority for the incoming president. We certainly saw that during his first presidency, with a significant exception for religious freedoms and rights, which we know is very important to the conservative right. It will be very interesting to see, and I have a feeling that come day one, we will get a very clear message from Donald Trump as to what he plans, and we will see NATO respond very swiftly.
Okay, Alex, thanks so much. And we are monitoring the situation in the Middle East as well. No word yet of a deal, but talks have been ongoing, and they're said to be close. Alex Cohen, Daniel Grimes, thank you so much for your time and your political insights. Thanks for watching. I'm Josh Robin. More news right now here on Spectrum News.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
For the millions of school-aged children across the country, the state of their schools can have a lasting impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms. Available on the Spectrum News app.
You put in unlimited hours and unlimited passion because your small business has unlimited potential. Spectrum Business is built to connect you with that potential. With Spectrum One for Business, you get fast, reliable internet, advanced Wi-Fi, and a mobile line, all for only $49.99 per month. That's more connectivity at a better price than other providers. And with Spectrum One for Business, the value only grows. With award-winning multi-layered security to defend all your devices. If it's connected, it's protected. Get all the connectivity your business needs for the lowest price around. Only $49.99 per month. That's your business made limitless. That's life unlimited.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
I'm Josh Robin. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Wildfires continue to wreak havoc in parts of Southern California. Rescue crews say that the death toll stands at least 24 people killed. Dozens of people, though, are missing. Firefighters say that strong winds are hampering responses as they are scrambling to put out these flames. State leaders say that thousands of people are under evacuation orders. Officials now say that the wildfires are the costliest and the most destructive in state history. California Governor Gavin Newsom signing an executive order suspending some building requirements for victims. He's also allocating resources to expedite insurance inspections. U.S. and Arab state mediators are said to be making significant progress toward a hostage release and ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. A deal has not yet been reached. Officials say that the coming hours are critical to putting a stop to the more than 15 months of